She had 3 sisters, and she was next to the youngest sister. So she was the 3rd daughter. And then she had 7 brothers. And I don't know, I think there were 4 boys that were younger than she. I'm not quite sure anymore just what it is, but there was a large family. And funny, they all, see, my grandfather was, I never saw my grandparents, so I don't know anything about them, except that my grandfather was a tailor also. I guess that was one of the biggest trades that a lot of men got into in the European countries, was tailoring, because that's how all clothes were made for men, was by a tailor. I guess they weren't sold, you know, like they are in stores now and all, and made in plants. So he was a tailor too, and it turned out that 2 or 3 of my uncles turned out to be tailors also. So it kind of ran in the family there as a tailoring family. Of course, I had about 3 uncles that were in the First World War, and one of them that I knew better than the others that came to visit my mother once was Uncle Bill, and he had been gassed in the war, so he wasn't very strong after that. He didn't live too long, too many years. And my Uncle Rudy, now there's a story that is kind of hard to believe. I never saw my Uncle Rudy. He was a cigar maker back in, I don't know whether it was New Jersey or one of the eastern states. And when he got ready to retire, he was coming out to be with his brother Bill in Oklahoma, and who was married, the one that was gassed. So he was coming out there. Now, he wasn't very well either. He had, I can't remember what kind of problems he was, but he called me on the phone and said that he was coming through Cincinnati. It's when we lived in Cincinnati. And that he could stop there in Cincinnati and see me on a connection he was making to Oklahoma. And so Ed and I went down to the station, the railroad station, to meet him, and I didn't know what to look for because I didn't have a picture of him at all at any age. And so when this man came down through the doorway there, I said, "That's my uncle." And I went up to him and I said, "Are you my uncle?" And he said yes, and it was my Uncle Rudy. Isn't that funny? But I just had that strong feeling that that man, among all the others, was my uncle. I don't know what made me feel that or anything, but I always thought that was kind of interesting that I could choose that one man and ask him if he was my uncle. But it was just instinct, I guess, something that told me that that was who it was. So he stayed with us for 3 days before he made his connection and went on to Oklahoma then. And I never saw him again. And he was the one that left me with some photos of my grandfather and grandmother, whom I'd never seen, and pictures of he with his brothers, all in a row, you know, different, and of my mother and her sisters, photos that I never ever had, but he gave them to me because he thought I should have them. So that if that was one reason why he wanted to stop over and see me for the first time in his life, was to hand those pictures over to somebody that he thought would be happy with them to see, because he knew I didn't know too many of the relatives, because relatives didn't visit much those days, you know. Transportation was bad and costly, I guess, and nobody was making that much money to flit around the country. So while Oklahoma wasn't too far away, because most of them lived in Oklahoma, I don't know, Oklahoma City and all, I really don't know, because I know my mother used to correspond with her sisters once in a while, but I don't remember her sharing too much of what they were doing or things, so I have no idea.